Hey, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday. It's the 25th day of Tishrei. And today we're starting the 25th chapter in Agar's HaKodesh. It is actually has very basic fundamentals in Judaism in this chapter. And what we're going to talk about today is the way the Alter Rebbe's approach to anger management. And it's actually, this begins with explaining something that took place in the time of the Baal Shem Tov. You know, there was some opposition to the Hasidus in the beginning of the Hasidus movement, and they were looking for different things to find the things in what the Baal Shem Tov says that is don't sound right. One of the things they found that the Baal Shem Tov said that when a person something happens, let's say you're middle of davening, middle of doing a good thing, and you have a goy coming and disturbing you, says the Baal Shem Tov, that everything happens that Hashem makes it happen. And in the goy himself, there is also Hashem making him do what he does. So in a sense, like dwelling in the goy. And this is something that the Misnagdim, those are post-Chassidus, they came and says, oh, look what he says, that Hashem, God, is dwelling in the evil and so on and so forth. And here, the Alter Rebbe explains this, but he explains this without even mentioning that there was a question. He's just explaining the concept in general, because the Alter Rebbe did not even want to raise any, and not even in just saying that there is a question. And Alter Rebbe didn't want to allow for this because he was so connected with the Baal Shem Tov. So this is a very interesting chapter. So let's go straight into the Tanya, and let's look inside. Having Imrei Bina, to comprehend the words of understanding, the words of the Torah. My shekosov b'sefer anikra tzavoas Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. What is written in a book that is called the Tzavah, the Testament of the Baal Shem Tov. So the first thing the Alter Rebbe says, that book is called the Testament of the Baal Shem Tov, but the Baal Shem Tov, who was of course the founder of the Hasidus, he never really wrote a Tzavah. He never really wrote a will and testament. And he says, Agam shebe'emes eino tzava'asei klal, that's not his testament. V'lo yitziva klal lifnei ptirasei. And before he passed away, he did not ordain anything. He didn't prepare a tzavah, a will and testament. However, that book, which is called Tzavah Baal Shem Tov, is a collection of sayings of the Baal Shem Tov. It says, Rakem likutei amroisa v'te'oires. They are merely, this is a collection of his pure sayings. The sayings of Baal Shem Tov, shaloktu likutei basalekutei, which was gathered as a compilations after compilations. What does that mean, compilations after compilations? It means to say it wasn't one person that collected all of his sayings and he put it together. It was different collection, different people that got together. and the compilers did not know how to phrase his teachings exactly. Meaning, the Alter Rebbe is saying, when you read this book, which is called the Tzava of the Baal Shem Tov, you cannot be learn anything with the wording of the book, because the wording are not exactly the words of the Baal Shem Tov, even though the message is a true message. The message is from the Baal Shem Tov, but you cannot be caught up on a word and saying, oh, look at this word, because the words is not exactly the words of the Baal Shem Tov. And later on he says that the Baal Shem Tov was actually speaking in Yiddish. And this book was written in Hebrew. So it's not exactly the words of the Baal Shem Tov. And especially when you have a collection of different people that help to collect. So you cannot be caught up on a word, what it says over there. However, the message that it says there is true. Emes la'amito, it is absolute truth. The connotation, however, emes la'amito. And now he goes into the message that it says there. Now, to understand this, so he doesn't quote what it says by the Baal Shem Tov, but he's going to explain the whole idea, and we will get to understanding by ourselves. V'hu behagdim ma'amar Hazal, and this is by first considering the teachings of our sages. It says, Kol hakoyes ke'ilu oived avodas kechovim u'mazalis. It says our sages of blessed memory say, whoever is in a rage, it is as if he's worshiping idols. Very strong statement. If you get angry, it's like worshiping idols. Where does that statement from? Where is this from? It's not in the Gemara. This is a statement that it says in the Zohar. In the Gemara, it says other things, that when you get angry, it says all kinds of Gehenna rules over you and so on. But the Zohar says a very strong statement. It's like when you get angry, it's like worshiping idols. What is the connection? Why is it when a person gets angry, is considered like he's worshiping idol? Denying God? God forbid. And the reason it says, Muvan le'yoyde bina, the reason is clear to those who know understanding. Lefi, because what happens, shebe'eis kasoi nistalka mimenu ha'emuna. Because at the moment of anger, at the time of anger, the faith has left him. The faith has left him. What do you get angry for? If something happens, if you believed that everything what happens comes from Hashem, then there is no reason to get angry. No matter what happens, no matter who does, no matter what happens, if you believe, ki'ilu yamamin, shemeis Hashem hoisa zoisloi, for were he to believe that what happened to him was God's doing, loy hoya bekas kelal, he would never be angry. Va'af sheben adam. By the way, this thing. I mean, it's you think about it. Let's say you run and you walk in, you run into a wall. Are you going to get angry at the wall? It happened. The wall is there. You ran into it. But nevertheless, as the Alter Rebbe, wait a second. But it's not the same. Ve'af sheben adam. Ve'af sheben adam shehu ba'al bechira mekaleloi. Sorry. There you go. Even though the person who does it to you, He's a person of free choice. It's not like walking into the wall. The person is free choice, and he chose to curse or to hit or to damage money, to steal money from me, and so on. So what does it mean? I'm not going to get angry. That person did something wrong to me, and he had a choice to do or not to do. So the Alter Rebbe says we have to differentiate between what happened and between what you have to do. So he says, that person who did something wrong to you, he is a person of free choice, and he chose to do what he did. And indeed, he's guilty for doing what he did. Whether in the laws of man, you can take him to court. If somebody does something, it hits you, you can take him to court. But don't get angry at him. Don't get angry. The anger, you could take it in a very cool way. He says the person will be judged, whether in the laws of man or in the laws of heaven. Sometimes in the laws of man, you cannot do anything. Let's say you have you don't have witnesses, you don't have proof, so they cannot do it in the laws of man. So in the laws of heaven, Hashem knows. Afal Pikei, nevertheless, ala nizak kva nigza min hashamayim. Nevertheless, as regards the person harmed, his was already decreed in heaven. It was decreed in heaven that I will lose the money. It was decreed in heaven that I will get punched, whatever. How it's going to happen, who is going to do it? Hashem has many messengers. God has many agents. He said, not only this, not only is it something that it was destined, even in that very moment which the offender strikes or curses him, mislabesh boy koyach Hashem veruach piv yisborech amechayeyu umekaymei. There is vested in him, in the offender, the force of Hashem, the force of God, and the breath of his mouth, which animates and sustains him. And as the Alter Rebbe brings the verse that is written regarding the story of King David. King David was, there was the rebellion, the son of Shalom, and then there was the Shimi ben Gera. Shimi, the son of Gera, he went and he cursed King David. And right next to Shimi ben, right next to King David was standing the Yoav ben Tzeruya, the general, and he wanted to kill him right away. And King David says no. He says, don't do anything to him. He says, why? He says, because God made him. God told him to curse. Later on, before he passed away, King David ordered his son Shlomo HaMelech to punish Shimi. But at that moment, and there's a whole explanation why later on he did tell him to punish. But at that moment, at that time, he told him, don't do it. Hashem told him to curse. Says the Alter Rebbe, what does it mean? When did God tell him to curse? That's what he says. Ki Hashem omar lo yikalel. As it is written, for God told him curse. Ve'eichan omar lo shimi. Where do we find that God said to Shimi to curse David? Elo. So the Alter Rebbe explains, what does it mean? What is King David saying Hashem told him to curse? Elo shemachshava zu. That thought that entered his mind, shenoflo l'shimi belibo v'moichi, that fell into Shimi in his heart and mind, Yoda me'es Hashem. This descended from God. And that's what it means that Hashem told Shimi to curse. Veruach piv amechaya kol tzavam. And the breath of his mouth, which animates all the hosts of heaven, hecheyo ruchoi shel Shimi b'shor shediber dvarim eile leDavid. This animated the spirit of Shimi when, at the time, he spoke those words to King David. Ki'ilu nistaleg ruach piv yisbor rega echad meruchoi shel Shimi lo yochol ledaber muma. If the breath of God's mouth were departed even for one moment from the spirit of Shimi, it could not have said anything. And this is what he means. Vezeu ki Hashem omaloi bohei sahi mamash kalalas David. This is what it means that Hashem, King David said, that Hashem told him at that moment, curse David. So that's how King David looked at it. And who shall say to him, to God, what to do? This is Hashem's way. Why Hashem does this? We don't know. But what happened, when you look at everything, how it happened, what happened, you realize that this is Hashem. And when you realize that this is Hashem, then there is no room for anger. I know it's easier said than done. It's very nice when we sit here with a cup of coffee in the morning and learning the Tanya and saying, okay, don't get angry. Even people do something for you, don't get angry. Or it comes, obviously, when it comes to do it, it's work. But when you think about it and you meditate about it again and again and again, and you tell yourself that whatever happens is Hashem, then even if one time it holds you up from getting angry, that is worth it. Certainly if it works for 2 times. And it says that King David, in the end, as I mentioned before he passed away, he told his son Shlomo to punish Shimi. Why did he tell him to punish him? Because that person deserved punishment. Because for what he did. Just like when somebody harms you, you should not get angry because it comes from Hashem. But it's okay to take him to court. And you don't have to suffer damages. You have to take him to court. He should pay you back. So, that is why King David, in the beginning, when it happened, he didn't allow Yoav to kill him. Why? Because he felt that this was something that his own personal revenge is involved. That's why he says, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Hashem told him to do it. And right before he passed away, when it was already no more about his own, he goes already to the world of truth. He said, nevertheless, that person needs to be punished for cursing a king. That's why he told his son Shlomo to punish him. So I want to ask also why, if God saw this happen, why didn't God punish Shimi? So there's different explanations given. One of the things is because there was destined to come out great people from Shimi. Who came out from Shimi? Anybody knows? Mordechai HaTzadik. Mordechai HaTzadik, we say in the Megillah, it says Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi. So he was his grandfather. So Yair was not born then.
Mordechai?
Mordechai HaTzadik. So it was just to conclude also, it was a nice story of Rabbi Beryl Lazar, the chief rabbi of Russia, who said So he was once a Jew, a simple Jew, came over to him, and he asked him. He told him, you're the chief rabbi of Russia. I'm sure God speaks to you all the time. Tell me what is the experience when God speaks to you? He was a simple person. By him, it was obvious that God speaks to Rabbi Lazar. And so Rabbi Lazar was like quiet, thinking, what do I answer this person? And he's quiet and he's thinking. And then that man says, oh, you know what? I know the experience. I know what happens. He says, what do you mean? He says, yes, you told us once that the Baal Shem Tov said that whatever you see, anything that happens is a message to you. Whatever you see is a message from God. So that's what you do. Everything what you see, you look at it as that this is a message from God, and that's how God speaks to you. But as I said, that this Jew taught him something that many books didn't teach him. Yeah, so that's the end of today's shir. We'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Thank you for joining, and please share. We should have a wonderful, wonderful day. Any questions?